Hello my friends, welcome to my channel. My name is Lui Piluso. I'm a music producer. I also record, mix and master music as well as songwriting. Today we're going to be talking about vocal production and mixing and how to get those lovely pop vocals that we hear in mainstream music. The song we're going to be using is from my friend Michel Nassar. He's a Lebanese artist that lives in France and he works for the brand Arturia. I'm an artist for them too, and they make synthesizers and amazing plugins. Last year I had the chance to travel to France and to visit Arturia's offices, and I got to meet Michel. We became friends and we started producing this song that's called Tomorrow. We started producing it at his apartment and we did the first draft of the song, and then we carried on producing and mixing it on other sides of the world completely. So this is a very interesting process. I really hope you enjoy this tutorial, and please, before we dive in, make sure you are subscribed to be able to get notified every time I upload a new video. So the vocal track was recorded by him at his apartment, which is not acoustically treated. So I had to do some edits and stuff to make it fit to the song. So what we did after doing the first draft of the song in France, we started working long distance and he started sending me stuff. I would bounce back another version and so on. So I'll show you a bit of the process of how to get everything working and how to get that pop sound that we are all looking for. So this was his vocal track. As we can see, it's like pretty hot, pretty high volume. Let's lower the pick information. So as we can see, I had to level out some of the different sections of the vocal, because my idea was to first do a little cleanup, a little edit, and then send to an analog compressor. So I always have to make sure that everything is quite leveled before I go into a compressor. Otherwise, I'm asking the compression to do too much, and sometimes it will get triggered by a transient or something that we don't necessarily want. So that was the first step, and this is how the raw vocal sounded.
Dance until the moon falls. Maybe my heart will still beat alright.
So it sounds very nice. He's a very good singer and he has a very good performance. So what I did was go through my compressor from an Argentinian brand that is called Quagliardi. It's 1176 mixed with a API 2500. And it sounds really, really, really good. I mean, I'm really surprised by this compressor. It sounds way more expensive than what it costs. One of the advantages of using an analog compressor versus using a plugin is that you can actually, an analog compressor will allow you to go tighter and use way more compression, and it won't choke as much as a plugin. So it allows you to bring out all the soft and nice dynamic vocal performances and get it all leveled out without it sounding choked. And I'm doing a whole lot of compression. So as you can see here, I recorded the track with a compressor to a new track, and I used a fast attack and a fast release. I wrote that down, and I was probably using quite a high ratio. So we came from this vocal to this one. And it already sounds like a little bit saturated, a little bit with a Q. I really like it, and makes everything up front. So let's listen to before the compressor and after the compressor.
Dance until the moon falls. Maybe my heart will still beat alright. Far away in a liquor hall. Dance until the moon falls. Maybe my heart will still beat alright. Far away in a liquor hall.
Right in your face, like, listen to this.
Maybe my heart will still beat alright.
You can hear all the much clearer, much more in your face.
Maybe my heart will still beat alright.
And the version before being compressed sounds weaker. Sounds nice by itself, but it won't fit into the track as well. That was the first step. The second step is to add different layers of things. From that original vocal, we add more stuff. So that means the song has a vocoder. We have one that Leo made, that he's a worker at Arturia, same as Michel. And they had made this original house, kind of more electronic, more housey kind of version of the first draft of the song. And then after I was summoned by Michel, we took it to a more Max Martin, Ariana Grande kind of style. So I used some of the things that Leo had done because they were really interesting. So I used the vocoder. And I actually added another vocoder of mine, and it sounds like this. And together, both vocoders with the vocal, they make the intro of the song before all of the instruments come in. Come, let's go, you know, tomorrow. Hold my hand and I'll show you a place I know. So I also added, you can hear. So here I just changed the names to English. So my next trick after using the vocoder, that I use the vocoder in several parts of the songs, for instance, the main chorus. Come on, let's go, we don't know tomorrow. Hold my hand and I'll show you a place. There's another trick that I used that I love, that I actually learned from the YouTube channel called Make Pop Music, where you duplicate twice the main vocal. So you have two copies. One, you pitch it an octave higher, and one, you pitch it an octave lower. So we have higher vocals here. And then lower. It will be alright. If you listen, once it's in context with the rest of the song, you really can't tell that much that those pitched vocals are in there. You think that maybe it's an effect, a reverb, or something like that. So that's really cool. So the high and low pitched vocals are in a separate bus, and so they're not being summed with the main vocal chain. So we have first of all, a little filter. So we take out the low end and high end of the pitched vocals, which allows us to take out all the low frequencies that normally when you pitch them, they start getting funny, full of digital errors or things like that. So I took that out and it gets facey. And then I took out the consonants, all of the T's and the C's and everything and the S's that once they are pitched, they also sound very funny. So that is cut around 1500. Then I use Denise Perfect Room. That is a very nice reverb with a shimmer. Then CLA effects, which I love for kind of ambient vocals. And OTT used in a very low percentage, which allows me to have a multi-band compression over the high and low pitch. Before we go into our last tip of the day, that is a very important one, maybe the most important of all. I want to make sure that if you like this content, you consider subscribing. It helps the channel a lot. This is a brand new channel. And leave me a comment with any suggestions you have for future videos, and leave a like. Also, please go and check out the song. It's in your favorite streaming platforms, and it'll help us a lot. If you like it, share it and get everybody to listen to it. It's a very important song for us and we worked a lot. So I hope you really like it and enjoy it. So our final tip is that usually when you have a dense song like this one that is full of production and full of instruments occupying the whole frequency spectrum, it's really hard to get a vocal to cut through. So that's why we use compression with such a heavy hand. And now we're going to use another tool that's called Sidechain. So we have two different kinds of Sidechain. Basically, so you can understand the concept behind Sidechain, means that you make an invisible copy of your vocal track, in this case. And then, for instance, you have a pad of a synthesizer that occupies the whole frequency spectrum. So what you do is, one of the ways to use Sidechain is that you add a compressor to the keyboard track, and every time the vocal starts to sing, the compressor starts to work and it lowers the volume of the synth so the vocal can come through. That's the most common way of using sidechain. I love it, but it can give you like a pumping effect because it's always sounding as you lower the volume and you put it right up, which can be a very interesting effect. You might like it. It's very used in electronic music, and I actually used it a whole bunch on this song because you want that pumping effect like Daft Punk. But then you have a new way of doing sidechain that is one that I'm in love with, especially for this kind of music. It's a more frequency-oriented sidechain. That means that instead of lowering the whole volume of the track, you're only going to lower the volume in the frequencies that compete with the vocal track. So that means that if the vocal track is high-pitched, it will only reduce the high frequencies of the synth and not the lower frequencies. So everything still sounds together. So I use a combination of both. And the way you do it is you make a send from your main vocal bus. And this, as you can see, there's a bus here that is called Vocoder. Ignore that it's called Vocoder, it's just a send, a pre-fader send. And then I have different buses for my instrumental track, for my bass, for my drums. And as you can see, we have one copy of the vocal in the sidechain of the bass, that is the main instrument of the chorus of the song. So in this song, you have three main elements. You have the vocals, you have the bass that it roars and is a main character in the chorus of the song. And then you have the kick that is really important because remember, this is a dance song. So everything else, all the synths, effects, and the rest of the drums and everything else has to fit around these three elements. So for instance, the bass is huge. So I added some frequency sidechain with the vocals. So as you can see, whenever the vocal is singing, maybe like in the main chorus, so we can see that it's reducing those frequencies. For instance, then we have the synth bus has three different sidechains. It has the kick sidechain, so that means every time the kick hits, it comes through without being masked by other frequencies. We also have the vocal sidechain for the synths, so every time the vocals come in, they can cut through, and the same with the bass. Because if we have a lead bass, which is something difficult to make it cut through the mix, we want to send a sidechain from the bass to the rest of the instruments that will occupy the same frequency spectrum as synths might do. So I have other copies of this kind of sidechains here, so I'm going to mute them for a second so you can hear the before and after. And after, so the kick has come forward in an amazing way, and everything is, I mean, it's quite subtle. It's not a huge difference because I like to work carefully and in little details, but you can hear how everything has its place. And before we activated the sidechain, everything sounded a bit muffled, and that's happens a lot when you start adding lots of different things to your mix. So I strongly suggest you start using this kind of tools in your songs and mixes. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. Please leave me comments with any doubts or questions you have. Also, if you're interested in hiring our services, I'll leave a link in the description where you can fill out a form. And make sure you are subscribed to the channel so you don't miss a single tutorial. I'll leave you more videos on the screen so you can carry on watching. Thank you so much for being here. My name is Lui Piluso, and I'll see you in the next video.